Okay, and we are live. But Blizzard had some Super Nintendo games. You remember them?
Not offhand. My recollection of Super Nintendo games is very limited as to what we were.
Just Jurassic Park. But they made.
That was my main game, though.
They made the one I played was Justice League Task Force.
Oh God, I forgot that was Blizzard.
Yeah, that's Blizzard. They must be getting the fucking text immediately. But there was also Lost Vikings, and there was a
no.
Rock and Roll Racing was another big one.
That I have played. I actually went and found it at when we used to have those secondhand game stores. I went and found it and got that one. That one I do know of.
Did you like it? I never played it.
I loved playing it.
It had cool soundtrack.
Power up your cars. Yeah, it had the generic rock background things and no lyrics, but you knew what it was.
Yeah, like Mid-Out Files.
Race cars and blow things up.
Yeah. And I want to say they did like Ariel the Acrobat. Don't quote me on that, but I think I seen some like mascot or something like in the Justice League, like at the intro when they said Blizzard. I can't remember honestly.
They did Death of Superman also.
They did Death of Superman. I never played that one. So
it was not good. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was a beat 'em up that was like very repetitive.
Yeah. Justice League was pretty much a Street Fighter type game. I thought it was okay for what it was. It was $70 fucking. It was too much damn money.
For like a Super Nintendo game?
Yeah. They used to be $70.
Oh yeah.
I remember Mario RPG being 50, but I never seen any 70 at the time.
No, stuff like NBA Jam or Mortal Kombat would be like $70.
I remember Super Return of the Jedi being $73 with like tax and everything back when I got it back in the day.
Yeah, and then I think Final Fantasy III US was also one of those. They're definitely some expensive shit. It wouldn't be Nintendo first party.
It was always like stuff. Like I said, Super Return of the Jedi was that, and like some of the Final Fantasies. It was usually like the third party or second party ones.
Midway type shit. But they had made some. I thought these games weren't like super. I think they're kind of like maybe been some cult classics. They weren't super amazing. But when Blizzard really got off their like groove or whatever it was Warcraft, which is pretty much like a Warhammer clone. Although I don't know much about Warhammer. I know a shit ton about Warcraft. But Warcraft came out in 1993, and it was a real-time strategy game. I believe at the time there was like Command and Conquer or Dune, which ran off the Command and Conquer engine. But it wasn't like the first real-time strategy, but it was hot. And you know who let me borrow that? Gary let me borrow the shareware version of that shit. I was entranced instantly. I'm like, this game is so freaking awesome, so amazing. And then I went and I bought that at Walmart, and it wasn't long after that. It was around 1995, I think. That Warcraft 2 came out, and then as soon as Warcraft 2 came out, I'm like, this game is fucking amazing, and I consider that to be almost as important as like say Doom was. It was just real-time strategy. Yeah, it was just freaking great, and the little cartoony graphics were, and like and you click on the guys, they say Dabu or Zug Zug or yes, me lord. All these freaking just classic damn one-liners they have. And that game was so fucking fun and so amazing. And even though I think Command & Conquer had a whole lot more units and like cooler music and cooler promotion videos, Warcraft 2 was just the shit. It was freaking awesome. And I remember that I had to go to DOS to play it because I had the fucking Pentium. I had the Pentium 75 hertz, and then Windows 95 was just a bloated piece of shit. It was bloated as hell. Yep. And so you couldn't play games in Windows. And that is where we get to Diablo, because Diablo was Windows only. You remember that, Eddie?
Yeah, I remember it playing it as a demo on the school computer.
And school, of course.
Like my brother's friend or whatever, he had a burned copy of the whole game. He gave it to us, and it was like playing it, and it was good memories.
It only had like
a few times.
It only had like a 10 megabyte imprint. I don't know. The day Eddie was like, "What the fuck's that even mean?" 10 megabytes was small as hell. That's pretty much Doom was a little bit bigger than that, but they would stream that shit from the whole CD, Chad. It was a CD game, and you required Windows. At the time, I didn't had to wait. And so when I got my second computer, I was finally able to play it. And I'm sitting there thinking like, this is going to be like Blizzard. They're fucking awesome, and they're making a Legend of Zelda. That's what I thought. And like, I can't wait to hook up my grab game plan and play it. And like, and you put that shit in there. It's like, there's no fucking controller controls. I got to use a keyboard and a mouse. This feels weird.
Yeah, you use your keyboard for, drinking down your potions real quick, and your mouse for clicking on all the treasures.
Oh, I remember the buttons, and you could not assign the buttons. So today, if you used to play it, you would want to use a custom down set. Like the quick keys, Chad, would be the function keys.
Yeah.
And they only had 4 of them. And I think you had a pretty good bunch of, you had a big ass potion belt, but it only had like 1 potion for each slot, but it had like 8 slots, and you could put like your magic potions. Was there something else too? Scrolls?
Red and blue. You could put scrolls. You could put the little elixir vials and use them.
You would have a town portal scroll in there too, so you would have to have a couple of them.
You would want to buy town portal scrolls unless you want to get permanently stranded somewhere.
And as you're playing single player Diablo 1, all of your gear and shit and your actual stage is saved. So if you kill like 4 monsters in the area, you come back, those 4 monsters are dead. And I'm like, okay, so I've got this short sword. I've already got a short sword, but let me go outside and take this back to town. And so I would take all the fucking shit. All the shit's supposed to be just crap just laying there. I'm like, okay, I killed a monster. He dropped an item. I better take this item. You take that shit to town.
Transport it back.
Yep. And I ended up just like, okay, I might need this later on.
Oh, no, I just throw it in town.
Yeah, you did the same thing.
Throw all my gold there.
You end up having all of that shit in town on single player when you're first playing it. So you don't know that this is a looter collect 'em up game, and most of your loot is trash. Who gives a shit? No, we're gonna take all the shit, take it to town, stack it in there, and it would stay, Chad.
Actually, after a while playing, when I figured out what to really do, I would just save all of my stuff there, and when I need to sell it, I would constantly look for books, for spell books and stuff, and I'd usually save all my gold to buy them.
The skills were tomes or books, and so if you had it, they were basically a magic requirement. So you could put points in the magic, and there would be hard caps. What was it, like 50 for the warrior or something like that?
Yeah, I think 50 or 60, but you can raise it higher. But it was really, really hard to. You'd have to be higher level to wear certain gear.
Wear gear and then use it.
And then it would require a lot more money, and you'd have to actually find these tomes. But you'd have to keep randomly going back into the cave or whatever and go to the witch lady. I sense a soul in search of answers.
What was it? Alma was her name?
Adria.
Oh, I'm getting my fucking games confused. We'll talk about Alma later on. But the skills were based on books, and Eddie would fucking just, even though he's a warrior and should only worry about heal, he would go in there and get
teleport book.
He'd go and get all that shit.
Pass through all the levels real quick, but it were level based. You'd have to be a certain level to actually be able to get certain books. Like the teleport book, I think is like level 24, 25 or something. I don't really know. It's been a long time since I played, but it was a rare book. Very rare.
Today, if you used to go back and play it, there's a lot of quality of life shit that would just drive you nuts. It wasn't until the Hellfire expansion that you could actually look on shit on the ground. Like you had the Alt key, when you press the Alt key and everything appears on the ground. That was not existing. And so you're killing monsters. You don't really have a time to stop and look until you kill them all. And then you hear the clings. You'll hear the treasure. It's really audible. Yeah, so you'll hear that ring drop, and then you have to just
mouse trying to find it. And I'm like, where is it? I know it was here. Wait a minute. Nope.
And
okay,
it's actually
there it is. I got it.
Yeah, and it's actually darker than Diablo 2 is. It's dark as fuck. Yeah. You're like, where the hell is this damn ring at?
You would have to have gear that says plus light to actually increase the light radius to see
so you can see better. Yeah. And there's you had the standstill shift key that you could stand still with. but there was no like hold down mouse click. Each attack, and this is especially bad when you had the rogue, you had to keep clicking. That was it's a damn carpal tunnel simulator, man. You didn't have to worry about arrows, but you had to press each mouse button. It would drive you fucking nuts. And then and then if you didn't have the Hellfire expansion, the walk, there was no running, so you walked everywhere. And so when they talk about
diagonal to run,
it would, that was still slow as hell, Eddie. You had to walk fucking slow as shit to town. It's going to take you 3 minutes to walk the Decker Cane. And then what was it, Griswold?
Griswold, yeah, there was Griswold, Deckard, Pepin,
Wirt. Was Wirt in there?
Yeah, Wirt. And there was Julian, Ogden, and the drunk guy. I forgot his name.
That's pretty good. Remember there. No, those fuckers. I forgot. If they weren't in Diablo 2, I forgot them, man.
Griswold was in Diablo 2, but he was a zombie then.
Yeah.
Farnham, that was it. Farnham the drunk. He was the warrior guy that was there, and he's all depressed because, he lost all his friends.
Yeah, and it was only like 16 levels. So you could get through the game. If provided you could kill and get down there, you can get through the game real quick. And it would almost be like Act 1 of Diablo 2. And honestly, that's what Diablo 2 kind of copied, besides being, yours always in the dungeon. So like, and Daryl's little, the jail cellars and stuff like that, it's very, very Diablo 1. And some of them, they would use the music from Diablo 1, like the dungeon music. I cannot remember what Diablo 2 levels that was. It might have been the maggot layer. I can't remember. But
what about the place in the desert, the underground place?
Yeah, there? I think so. But once you figured out how to play, I was addicted. It was just crack. And I went on Battle.net, and some dude just gives me the godly plate of whales and the king's sword of haste, and that's just gives you the best shit. And I'm thinking I'm just amazing and stuff until I die, and you have to go get your shit. Remember that, Eddie? I don't know if you had that single player. It was a multiplayer. I
never played on Battle.net.
Yeah, if you died, your treasure and shit would fall on the ground. It was more than just the body. Your treasure was there, and so
that
if you got
in D2 quite often.
Well, your treasure is fucking there, and if you didn't get that shit back, if there's some reason you couldn't get it back, that was it.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. The kind of shit in Diablo 2 where they would have to do crazy crap on your body to try to make you pop the fucking loot out, that was just Diablo 1 as it was. And there was no like turning hostile. It was any time somebody could just start whooping your ass. The friendly fire was on all the time, kind of like the old Doom was.
That was a problem for Battle.net D2. And there was a forum that I used to go and read stuff on, and there was a guy there that says, "Oh, here's a bunch of tips to, not get PK'd in D2."
Yeah. Well, in Diablo 1, you better just play with friends or just accept it. And there's assholes out there. His name's Charlie, who could had enough cheat codes because all of the they didn't have server-side saves for your characters, so your characters might be hacked all the fuck up, and they could kill you in town even though you couldn't go hostile yourself. It was some stupid shit, but it was so awesome that for so many people, that's the first time for me especially, it's the first time I really played internet games. So even on your shitty dial-up, your ping stuff was still good enough, and it was 4 players, and that you could go online. And they invented Battle.net for Diablo. It wasn't invented for Warcraft 2. They went back and did a Battle.net version later on. And so still to this day, I believe that they still have the Diablo 1 servers up. There's probably not anyone in them.
I don't know.
But I know that Diablo got re-released on like GOG or Green Man Gaming or whatever the fuck it was.
They had a PlayStation version, but I could never find it.
That's a rare game too, right?
Yeah, who used to have that? Freaking Will used to have that.
Will had that.
Yep, because I remember like when I borrowed his PlayStation back in the day, I played it and I was like, this is like, it was not meant to be played on a console. Yeah. It was terrible.
I heard it was 2 players, which would have been a cool gimmick. But it's one of those things, kind of like StarCraft 64. It's like this is it exists.
Yeah, it's like it exists, but it's not playable. Because I remember like I borrowed his PlayStation or something one time in high school, and he had he had it, and I remember because he bought it, he's like, "Oh, Diablo," and I didn't even know he liked Diablo, but he like had it, and I remember trying to play it, and I was just like, "This is not." Which I never got into Diablo 1. You remember you used to make me play that? You remember on the computers, and you would be like, "You'll love this, man. You'll get into it," and I never ever liked Diablo 1 as opposed to Diablo 2.
I did. I like, trying to get to the thing. I keep resetting it where I would encounter the butcher.
Yeah. You wouldn't always, especially on like a multiplayer, you wouldn't always guaranteed to run in certain bosses. So sometimes you would play through and you fight this guy, and other times you fight a different boss. Yeah, now, did you ever play Hellfire?
Poison. Yeah, I played Hellfire before. I think you let me borrow it one time.
And you installed it?
Yeah, and then I played through it a good bit.
Now Sierra made Hellfire, so it wasn't an official release. These days, I think they finally have got where you can do Hellfire on the GOG version, but Blizzard just pretended it didn't exist. Like when they would do the little battle chest or whatever, they wouldn't include
it. They didn't include it.
I do have the battle chest. It does not have Hellfire in it. Just Diablo, Diablo 2, and Lord of Destruction.
There was like basically a little. You could go to the configuration file, and there was a way to unlock literally the barbarian, and there was another character called Bard. They used the same animation as the warrior and rogue, but the barbarian could carry a 2-handed weapon in one hand, just like the Diablo 2 barbarian, which was a pretty cool get. Yeah. And then the Bard could carry it, which was the rogue, could carry 2 weapons. And what they would do is just strike in 3 squares in front of you, which was pretty cool. So I played through as the Bard. And also a Hellfire had permanent elixirs that could boost your stats, so you could get to maximum stats. And I don't know if you could do that without a bunch of work on Diablo 1, but you could get like a rogue with
ways to.
You cheated your way.
You'd have to play it through a million times, or you dupe things, and that was risky in itself.
Yeah. But I played the shit out of Diablo. Of course, Diablo 1 was also a modem game, so we would, call people up and play with them and stuff. And then he'd have a sudden, it's like, where'd you get all this weird treasure, man? I went online and this guy had this shit. He had this plus 30 skills ring.
Plus 30 skills.
They got shit of shit like that.
I would never be able to find anything like
that. But yeah, I played the hell out of it. These days, the quality of life shit would hurt. It would hurt to go back to play that the way it was, and you'd have to use a custom damn config to get around, because I don't think you could adjust the controls. But Diablo 1 was awesome, but what makes Diablo 2 so great was that they took, they addressed all the quality of life features, and then it says, well, it's going to be 4 times bigger. And so the hype for Diablo 2, just going into it, was just ridiculous. I was waiting, and then I was, of course, it didn't run on my fucking computer, because it didn't run on anybody's damn computer. It wasn't optimized for shit.
It ran good on my computer, as you tried to copy it so many times. You remember that? You was jealous of my brand new computer, and then we didn't realize it was the video card didn't mean shit. That it was the processor.
The processor. Yeah, I went and because you only get like 20 something frames on single player, and then it would just be clugging around. And I had a Pentium 2, 260 hertz, I believe. And I think if I had 300 hertz, I'd have been good. But I had a 266, and then so I've tried several fucking video cards to try to just get better, because at the time I had like a Creative Labs Voodoo 2, like 12 megabytes of RAM. And I'm like, this shit's running like ass balls, while stuff like Quake or like Jedi Knight would just run a bazillion frames a second, like flawless. But Diablo ran like shit, man. And The Sims ran like shit as well. And so I pretty much had to get a new computer for Diablo 2. And that was a little bit after it had been out for a while, I believe.
It was a minute because I remember I had bought that E-machine. You remember you helped me figure it out because it had it had that NVIDIA Vanta card in it. And I remember like you came over to help me set it up, and I remember you were like, I want to install Diablo 2 on it, just see how it runs. And it ran so damn good that like the following weekend you were like, I gotta get a new video card. And I think that's that day you went through like 3 of them in one day. You remember it's like you went to Douglasville like 3 different times. It's like, this video card sucks, so they doing it. You take it back, you get another one, and it's like then you finally realize it ain't the video card.
Yeah, it sucks. Some guy there, it was at GameStop.
Yep.
And
or whatever it was at the time. It was some form of GameStop. I think it was like Babbage's, or it might have been EB at that point.
Man, I remember those old stores. I wish they were still around.
But that was a GameStop, though. I thought the one in the mall was.
It was Electronics Boutique, but I think it was Babbage's first. Because, they all kind of like started going in the same line where they were all the same thing.
I hate to tell you this, but the GameStop in the mall is no longer there.
I don't give a shit.
I went there. Oh no, it was a while back. It was all closed.
What's the last thing you bought at GameStop, Eddie? Go ahead and tell us.
I don't know. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I bought an actual hard copy game.
This is what I go to GameStop to do. I go to GameStop and I look at the games and I sit there and literally like, Drew's beat that, Jason's beat that, I beat that, and just go down the line and point to the games.
There was Resident Evil 6. And then
that was 12 or 13. That's the last game you bought at GameStop. Is it?
Yeah, it's the last official game.
There you go, Eddie.
I bought it at GameStop. Everything else was like at what's it? I forgot what it was called. It was in Villa Rica in Carrollton.
Gamers or whatever it was.
Yeah, Gamers. I bought everything else.
You were getting it, but that was retro shit. You was getting Gamers, right? Super Nintendo shit.
Some of them were like old
PS2.
PS2.
Yeah, that's retro stuff. That's completely different. There's no reason to fucking go to GameStop.
360 games I got like what was that called? Not Call of Duty, but the other game, the one where we used to play a lot.
Ghost Recon.
Yeah, that was the last. No.
I bought something stupid at GameStop. It ain't here yet. It ain't out yet. Our Lord and Savior, Mr. Todd Howard, who always needs more money, has made 31 Doom Eternal statues, and they're $40 a piece. Yeah. 31.
Does GameStop Online count as GameStop game?
I mean, that's where I'm getting this I'm getting a fucking Arachnotron. He's supposed to be 7 inches tall, which that means he's pretty big.
Then the last game I got was XCOM 2.
Okay. You made a mistake. You thought that you needed a physical copy for this shit. Brian, if you step on my freaking computer and turn off the record, I'll be pissed. Get down, buddy.
But I'd actually, have that when it came out. I was like, I'm going to order this. Because at that time, I did not know I had an actual Steam account because I had forgotten it because my old computer would crash when I tried to play old Left 4 Dead.
But, yeah, there ain't no reason they couldn't go to GameStop. But back in the day, you could get literally video cards at the Electronics Boutique. So I went up there and tried to get that shit.
They had used PC games, too, there. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Because I remember that's where I got – I think I bought Quake 2 there used and Half-Life. At one point, and it was just weird because people were like that was at
the code was gone, but I fuck it.
You didn't need the code wasn't so necessary at that time because it wasn't connected online.
Yeah, or it's like, okay, you can't take this and play Battle.net, but you play by yourself.
I forgot where we got Half-Life and Painkiller. Was it some electronics store?
Well, dude, back in the day, you would go to Circuit City, or
hell, even Walmart had a great computer section for games.
And that's one of the reasons that Blizzard did so well because they were at Walmart. You went to Walmart, they would always have that battle chest there.
Yeah.
Of their
it was like $29.99 or something like that.
Yeah. At that time, and when I got it, it was $40.
Yeah, they all of their games were there. when they would do with they were the big box ones, man, and it's freaking like StarCraft would come out and would have 3 different freaking damn boxes, and they would all be up there at Walmart. You could pick the Terrans or whatever you wanted to be.
Steven had to get all of them. Yeah.
No, I didn't get all of them. I got the Terrans, but they would be there, and so it's one of those things. They were like literally, and I don't think this is an understatement to saying they were like the Nintendo of PC games for about 10 years, from around I'd say about Warcraft 2. It's when they started just going to the stratosphere until a couple expansions into World of Warcraft. That's a good 10 to 12 years that they were the top notch.
Because I also remember my brother. We had a burned copy of StarCraft. He'd play a lot of that on our really, really old computer.
Yeah, and then stuff like StarCraft and World of Warcraft caught over there overseas in Korea and China, and they became superstars. And that's probably when they thought their shit didn't smell. But back in Diablo 2, it's just, even with just amazing amounts of bugs that game had, it was even though it ran like shit, it was like, this game's cracked, man. I can't stop playing. It's just amazing shit.
Long time till I got introduced to Diablo 2.
Why?
You introduced it to me.
So, but you already played Diablo, right?
Yeah, I played the first one, but I didn't know that there was a second one. But no.
See, Chad, don't feel sorry. You weren't the only one.
No, well, that's the thing. Is like,
I had forgotten all about it for a long time, and then Steve introduces me to this wonderful game where you walk through and you collect treasures after killing monsters, and I'm like, wow.
It was like freaking heroin, man. Because I remember, it's like, because I
remember playing the first one.
I think you got it it was before the expansion pack came out, and I still lived in Carrollton, so it had to be like 2000 or 99, one of those 2 years. But I remember you bought it for me, and you're like, if you like it, like, you could keep it, and if you don't like, I think it was like, no, I think it was one of those, like, if you don't like it, you could you don't have to pay me back or something. It was one of those deals where you're basically buying it for me, being like, making me play it. And I remember we sat down and we played it, and it was like, it's just one of those, I just played the shit out of it, especially after the expansion pack came out. It was like, I bought the expansion pack like day one, because it had that shitty, the GameStop came with, like, if you pre-ordered it at GameStop or something, you got like a strategy guide that was automatically out of date as soon as the expansion pack came out.
Because they patched it.
Mm-hmm. It was the most useless. Right? It was basically like to get you started with, like, you know, the assassin and the druid. And it was like, I remember it was like 1.06, and as soon as you get home, it's like 1.07 is like loading up. It's like, never mind. It's like all that shit was pointless almost.
Yeah, 1.06 was the last vanilla D2. Okay, and so the disc came with 1.7. But even before the disc came, I believe they were up to 1.8. Even before the expansion came out. So when it came out, it was already updated. I want to say
it updated like day one. I remember that.
Yeah,
because it was like so funny.
Before the expansion came out, they had already rebalanced. Similar to the Loot 2.0 in Diablo 2, right before it came out, they rebalanced the vanilla game, and so that's when they nerfed the Whirlwind Barbarians. I don't know if you remember. Well, of course you remember that shit. The fucking Whirlwind Barbarians were the best class in the game, and they had these stupid lances. Probably one of the hardest treasures to get, and at the time, rares were the best. So the actual, like, unique lances all sucked because there was no exceptional uniques. They were only the regular tier uniques. And so these lances, like, I've got a 300 damage lance, and then they'd all spin around. The remember the passives, Eddie, for the barbarian had passives for all the weapons? Yeah. They were bugged. And so you put 1 point in that shit, and it was like 100% chance of critical. So they automatically were doubled over the damage they were showing. Yeah. And then the range for the lance was like really long, and also it wasn't based on at the time the whirlwind was not based on your attack speed, so you're getting just the long range super damage, freaking double crit shit. And it was just broken as fuck, and other than the Iron Maiden shit where they cast Iron Maiden and get their ass annihilated, they just dominated. And so
they had Ice Blink also. You remember that? People Ice Blink armor.
They'd freeze all the fucking monsters and just blast through them. And another thing, a big, probably the biggest problem with 1.06 is the way experience was shared. It wasn't shared with players correctly. And so you would go into a game, it'd have 8 barbarians. Well, 7 barbarians. I'd be the damn Amazon or some shit. 7 barbarians. None of them are partied. All of them are in Act 4. None of them are in Chaos Sanctuary. So they're in the other acts. The other 3 areas. And they're just fucking just annihilating everything. And I'm sitting there with my damn little boas on. Got to get freaking all the monsters on the Valkyrie so I could just slowly poke a thing to death. Feel like I'm fucking useless. And then the barbarian comes like, you need to get away from my monsters.
This is mine.
And then the sorceress would have to be the spam goddess, bro. You'd have to spam static field. Just spam the shit out of it because that made their percentage of hit points drop. Be super cast speed. Spam the shit out of it to static field so they had no hit points left, and then drop a couple of frozen orbs on them and try to get them. And pretty much every fucking else, and all the characters had the same kind of problems. You had 1 or 2 good things, and then everything else was useless as shit.
Damn, freaking smite bug. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Was it smite or was it
charge?
Charge had that charge bug. That was god awful.
Yeah. One of the strongest uniques back then was the bone snap. It had like 100 damage on it, and so when I'm trying to level my characters up so I could get a chance to roll a Charcy roll to try to get a good, usually for a bow. I try to get, you could level up to level 34 and you have the chance to get the best bow. And so I would actually do that as a paladin because you get that bone snap, you just charge and you just crush and kill all the monsters. So it was annoying as fuck. But it did a huge amount of damage. It kills things real fast, especially on Act 1 normal. So if you're level 34, you're going to hit that a little bit around Nightmare, if I remember right. Nightmare Act 1. But the freaking charge, for whatever reason, would just sometimes make it a monster had no hit points but couldn't be killed. And then,
it was invincible.
Yeah. At the time, I didn't know the Barbarian's freaking smite would actually kill it. I mean, not the Barbarian, the Paladin. I didn't know that, though. So you're hoping that the Barbarian, because there's fucking 40,000 Barbarians in the best class, because the leap attack would also do it. And so at the time, I'm sitting there, I'm making these god monsters, and I'm like, help me, guys. And they have to come in and leap attack that shit.
Oh, no, I didn't get introduced till you introduced it to me. Well, somebody had given me the expansion for like Christmas or something. I didn't actually have the game at that time.
They just gave you the expansion?
Yeah.
They didn't know what the hell they were doing?
I don't know.
They didn't realize they were giving him like heroin. They were like, here you go.
But I had the expansion, but not the actual game for a very long time.
That's like the heroin without a fucking like pot or whatever you need to freaking,
And
like, here's the syringe with no needle with it.
I got introduced to it when Steve introduced it to me. I went and found the battle chest. I got it, and I started playing. And I was like, well, I have this expansion here. I think ended up...
Let me tell you, Diablo, no job. That's a bad combo.
Well, either way, playing D2, going through it, it was just fun.
Yeah, but they go back to the 1.06 patch. There was so much shit broken in the game. Like I love a double swing or berserker like kind of barbarian or whatever, but the double swing didn't work. The first hit would hit, and the second one.
It always miss.
Yeah, it always miss. But even at only one hit, it was pretty damn fast. So I liked it, but the only damn way to do it was to run freaking whirlwind. That was the only way to be a barbarian. So. And this is another thing is like you're sitting there like, okay, well, I need to get Frozen Orb from Sorceress. I need to get the Whirlwind from Barbarians. Like they're useless. They're fucking useless characters until they're level 30.
Yep.
And you'd have to just walk around with your regular attack or whatever it is. Because if you put 1 point in the wrong thing, your character was considered useless.
It's like start over. No reset.
Respect.
Start over.
No respect.
That was way later when you can respec the character.
Yeah.
You have to get all the little fragment pieces.
You remember when like you knew when a new patch was coming out and you just go ahead and like rush you a character to have it like no spec at all until the new patch would come out, so that way you could just like not have to do it.
Yep.
You'd have one preloaded with all the points still sitting there. That's that way when the patch came out, everything, because virtually a patch would come out and completely nullify whatever you had. Just might as well throw it away.
And it was a big fucking deal. We're waiting for these damn patches, and Blizzard takes forever. 1.10 took for fucking ever to come out.
Oh god, it was like years and years and years.
Yeah. But see, the 1.09 is where most of the Diablo 2 was played, honestly, because that was when it was hot. That was pretty much the patch, and it
had already started slowing down when 10 came out.
Yeah, that kind of revitalized it.
Yeah, it kind of revitalized it. I mean, it was. You remember, it was like an ongoing joke, like 1.010. It was almost like it ain't never coming. Like it was like Duke Nukem Forever. Like it ain't never coming. You know?
And at the time, the meta was well known. So your Necromancer and your Paladin they sucked in that one.
Yep.
Your skeletons would just get melted in one hit. It's like you'd make it when you first play the game. Hell, I think Necromancer's the first one I really played because he was just so fun. It's like I could just make an army of skeletons and not do anything. This is great.
They just all have like one hit point. You could have like 900 of them.
At the time when the game first came out, you could not you couldn't walk through them in town. And so you're getting to the damn what's the fucking Act 3? I forgot the hell of the name of it.
The Marsh and all that.
Yep. Yeah, the town is like just you're on the boat dock. It's like 2 squares wide. Yeah, fucking 30 fucking skeletons you just can't do nothing. You just have to sit there and unsummon them shits one at a time.
I can't remember.
I just remember taking him up to go fight Diablo, and he'd do that Ring of Fire move, and every one of them would drop dead. Like immediately. And he did it as soon as he came out. You remember that was like one of the first moves he'd do. Every one of your skellies would be dead. So what's the point?
You'd end up with like an iron golem you'd have to make with a weapon. And then you're trying to use Iron Maiden so the enemies can kill themselves because your guys couldn't do shit. They sucked. And this is how you play Necro. And like they had nerfed Corpse Explosion by 1.09 because it was hot. It was hot at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it was only they nerfed it because it didn't scale up with players. So if you had 8 players in the game, Corpse Explosion would be just if it did that kind of damage, it was just so great. They nerfed it down, so it was only good for just 1 player. So no one used Corpse Explosion either. And it's like, okay, your teeth suck, your freaking Bone Spear sucks. You only got about like you can cut amp damage and then like Iron Maiden, and that's fucking it. And then you're sucked to attack with. So it's like, wow, you're goddamn awful, man.
I think I had mine with a scythe at one point.
Everybody fucking was using the scythe when their first damn Necromancer, and you know what? That one, how you play that
burning dead scythe.
What happened was
necro skills.
What always would happen was, you know what? He has no way to boost his attack rating besides freaking poison dagger. Yep. So it's like he's not gonna be a hit shit, and so therefore he's useless.
Put points to an end to attack to be able to actually equip that.
You would never be able to get high enough to hit fucking nightmare monsters. So
no, you'd never be able to hit them, so it was useless.
Yeah,
that's why you would just go with like a whiz spike, something that had a massive amount of like resistance on it, because you knew you were going to die in one hit anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it was. It was like that's why whiz spike was more useful for like necromancers than it was for sorceresses, because it had all those resistances. It was like 100 resist all on it or something.
It was something high, but that was like the name of the game, and of course the cow meta. Was
the cow level. Oh, God.
The fucking cow level, because you go, that became the new meta for Diablo for the expansion after the damn fucking barbarian whirlwind bullshit, just of vanilla that would never go away. It was the cow shit, and the cow had all kinds of problems in 1.9. Remember, if you killed the cow king, You couldn't make the teleport thing no more. You'd have to bomb other people's teleports.
Yep.
And then, so you'd end up having characters just so that you could
make them. That's so funny. It's like you get in a cow game and it'd be a full game and nobody would be able to make the freaking level. Everybody'd have the staff, and I mean they'd have the freaking the Lord's leg and the portal, but nobody'd be able to freaking make it.
Tome of Town portal, and yeah, I remember that. Plug Y kind of fixed that a bit.
How useful would a hot fix been back then, man?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you fix this shit in 10 seconds.
And it's like, because you'd have it, it eventually, like, all 7 people would be like, none of us can fucking make it, and you just all leave. And then you'd all end up in the same game again, like, just trying to find a cow game where somebody could fucking make the level. It's, like, damn annoying as hell.
Another big 1.09 thing was Act 5 experience was so much of magnitudes better than the entire rest of the vanilla game. You would just try to rush through 1 through 4 so fast to get to 5.
Oh, yeah, because you didn't get shit for, like, Chaos Sanctuaries back in the day either.
I think I used to remember, I used to know the damn levels, like when you hit it and when you left.
Bloody Foothills.
Yeah, you go to Bloody Foothills, all 8 players would be there. Someone would stop from the damn waypoint, others would go out the front door. Freaking annihilate. You get like 2 or 3 levels to go. It's like, and then like Bloody Foothills 1, Bloody Foothills 2, and you just keep joining the same group. And then you would get like, okay, my character's ready to go to Nightmare Bloody Foothills.
Yep. And then it was basically, you had to be a certain level to take advantage of the Ancients also. You remember if you kill the Ancients before you're like level 20, you would get like no levels, but if you waited till level 20, you get like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was.
And then it's like once you got to level 25, then you could either do Bloody Foothills. For basically, you want to do Bloody Foothills between like 20 and 25. Once you hit 25, you could hit like cow level, and then that would start going up exponentially after that.
Yeah, I always thought that the cow level was only really good in hell. Am I wrong?
Basically, yes. It was like, because basically by the time generally what you would do is like you get up to like level 20 or 25 when the Ancients when you could use the first Ancients, and you would hit that. And then you would just rush all the way through Nightmare, hit the Ancients on the way, because I think it was like level 40 at that point. You had to be level 4. It was like 20, 40, 60. That was the levels where it would take effect. If you did it before any of those on that, you would get nothing. So you didn't want to even bother. And then, so by the time you got to like Nightmare, Hell, you would hit or you could get to Hell before the cow levels and just go back when you hit 40 and 60 and do your Ancients. But if you're just kind of going in order, that's how you do it. But basically, it's like you just want to get to Hell Cows as fast as possible. And it was basically level 25 when it would actually, because you could, if you're like level 6, you would get some experience, but you wouldn't get a lot until you hit like level 25.
I got a cool topic for us, Eddie. You want to talk about meth runs? just hand it over to Chad.
God. Fuck it.
Yeah.
All day.
Back in the day.
I got so into that economy. It was like unreal. Because you remember like Steve, you remember when we used to get on Steven, it's like you were into the game. I was into the economy. Where it'd be like, oh, I need a such and such. It's like, here's you like 10 SOJs, good trade for one. Yeah, I remember like trading 40 SOJs for my first win force. And it was 40 because 40 was the maximum amount of things you could put in the inventory.
Fit in there, yeah.
It was 4, and dude, you would get pissed because you'd be like, you put in a game, and this is what would piss me off is if you were doing a trade game, whatever the item was first in the trade thing, that's what you were, had. So like if you put in there like SOJ for Shaco, that meant you had an SOJ that you were trying to trade for a Shaco. So people would come in your fucking game and be like, I got SOJ. And it's like, no, I'm trying to trade for, and it's like they didn't know the fucking protocol and it'd piss you off. But I remember spending all night one night because you'd have to get all your damn SOJs. You trading for like ever to get 40 of them. And then it would be like you'd get in there and you'd be like, you better fucking show me this win force first. No fucking around, because I'm not putting 40 of these things in this window for you to throw up a damn unidentified gothic bow trying to trick me into thinking it's a win force. It's like, I got 40 fucking SOJs. I know what an unidentified win force looks like. And it's like you would do all that and then they throw one up there and it has some like shitty ruin in it. Like just like somebody put like a fucking damn like Sir Ruin in it for shits and giggles because they didn't know no damn better, or they named it or some stupid shit, or like I think the WinForce had standard stats. I don't think any of them were like variables. There might have been one variable on it, but it wasn't very important. It's not like 150% to 200% enhanced damage. It was nothing of like substantially. But I remember like you like unload every freaking one of those things before you finally get what it is. It's just like it was such a damn hassle. Goddamn. I bet you, and this was all before the Massive Dupe, because I don't know if you remember. I think you quit playing by the time the Massive Dupe came out.
There were times where you could like all of the glitched things were just going through the damn anti-dupe system.
There was one time it got fucking bad. I remember like I just gotten like I got setting up on this thing with like all this rare stuff, like had the WinForce, had the all the high end stuff, and I remember like there were some guys running a dupe, and one of them got pissed and they released it because the problem was if you knew a dupe, you didn't want very many people to find out because the more you used it, the more people knew about it. Blizzard would find out, and they fixed it. So like the clans would always keep it really tight under wraps. Like something was going on, but like they weren't telling just everybody. And one of them got pissed off at somebody, and they released it online. And it was like you would walk into a freaking town, and there would be SOJs. You couldn't even walk in town without picking one up. It'd be so freaking bad. Because basically it was like they would take something and they would sell it to like the vendor. And whatever was in a certain item slot, it would just dump it on the ground. So there would be like WinForces on the ground, like literally like hundreds of them. There was one that was like the Cliff Killer amulet. And I don't know if you remember that, but they figured out how to put the Cliff Killer bow stats onto an amulet. So it was like fucking overpowered as shit just to get that amulet. And it's like you would walk in. I mean, I remember like going into games. It was like every game you'd go into, there'd just be shit all over the ground. It'd all be like high end shit. And you would start picking it up like, oh my god, oh my god. And after about like halfway through the day, you would stop picking it up because you're like, it's fucking trash at this point. It's so much shit. And then they fixed it, and like you would log back in, and all of it was fucking gone. They retro poofed it.
Would it say the rust storm washes away everything or something like that?
I can't remember. It's been so long.
I think that happened.
That's why they came up with ladders. So
yeah, that was right before the ladders.
And then there was the thing where you sell SOJs to the shops to make Diablo show up.
That was way later. That was like 1.10.
Okay. I don't think it's 1.10. I think it's like 1.13 or some shit.
It was way later on. This is way before that. But yeah, I mean, it was like, and it's like they had released a statistic one time about like how many SOJs on the server. Like they could look and tell how many items had been dropped versus how many was there, and it was like some crazy number, like 70% of all SOJs were copied SOJs or some shit.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'll put it into reference. I played that game literally for like 10 years straight. Like I would stay up all night. I would get on and play, and literally like I'd be like, I'll just keep going, and it'd be like 7 o'clock in the morning, like literally like nonstop.
Drink a giant liter of cola, staying up.
Yep, and I wouldn't even realize it because I'd just be doing like Mephisto runs and damn Andy runs. I did that shit for years. I only found one SOJ ever that I actually found. Yeah, only one. I only ever found one time.
I think I found one.
Do you remember how to do it in vanilla?
I think we were playing Plug-Wise.
No, that ain't vanilla. This is how you do it. I never
found one in vanilla.
This is how you do it in vanilla, and you had to do it this way. They had a drop order, and there was 3 unique rings. So you had Manglade, is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, Manald or whatever.
You had to have those 2. Okay, they didn't have to be in your inventory; they need to be in your stash. Then the third one to drop would be an SOJ. Okay, and this goes also for multiplayer. So if you're in a game with multiplayer, and somebody has an SOJ on, or if it's in their inventory, it wouldn't drop, or you would have it. or the other ones, they wouldn't drop. So you would have to, if you was hunting SOJs in vanilla, the best way to do it was gamble them because you had a 3% chance of it being a unique. So you would definitely have, you would have a bunch of money. You would have your Nagel ring and your Magolet or whatever the fuck it's called. Then you would gamble. Yep, and if you gambled a unique ring, it would be the SOJ. So that's how people pulled it up in vanilla. They changed that in the expansion.
Yeah, I can never get that to work.
And so they would have a percentage chance. And I believe, and you probably know this better than me, but Chad, but I believe that the monster who had the highest chance to drop it was Nightmare and Dario, if I remember right, with the highest chance to get the SJ. OJ, but you're spending so much time running just for the SOJ that it was almost like, but there would be about all that Endario would have that was worth the fuck. So it's like,
it was all shit. It's because all of them had a cap except for like Pendleskin. He was the one that, like, Bell didn't have a cap either, but Pendleskin was always quicker to run. But yeah, it was Nightmare. She had the highest chance of dropping unique jewelry because SOJ was only like level 29.
Yeah.
So like 9 times out of 10, well, actually more than 9 times out of 10, it'd be like 99.9% time. If you got a unique in hell, a unique ring, it would like almost never be an SOJ. It would be like a Raven's Frost or, Volcathos or something to that effect. Something that was much higher on the item level.
Which sucked because there was some awesome low level shit that would never drop in fucking the expansion. Like the Tarnhelm.
Tarnhelm's never fucking dropped.
Yeah, Tarnhelm and the Gold Dagger. Both of them were Magic Find shit. It's for your low level Magic Find sorceress, or even if you were like a barbarian and you're starting.
Or even high level sorceresses used to have that on Switch because you remember you would have your Switch item, and it was half the time it would be a goal with an ist in it that you would like get the last couple of hits in because you like on a Mephisto run. As soon as she got down to about like 10% of health, you'd switch over and start casting with that. So you would get the full effect of it.
Yep.
I would have a bunch of Magic Find gear on.
The Magic Find shit is a lot. When Resurrection is about to come out for and the console players are about to realize that Magic Find really fucks this game up. It really unbalances the characters. So it's like, okay, you could be a barbarian and you need like a super duper uber gear. But the best way to get that fucking gear is to not even be a barbarian. It's to be a sorceress.
And just load up on, because they're not gear related. Like, a level 30 frozen orb is still level 30 as opposed to our level, I guess it'd be level 20 with no gear on. But, I mean, still better than, a level, maxed out level whatever with a shitty piece of equipment.
Yeah. If you maxed out Whirlwind, it would cost 4,000 mana, and you'd spend one time be out of mana, and you wouldn't kill anything, especially if you're wearing like a broken stick or some shit like that.
Yeah, some broken stick. And that was the whole thing with the sorceress. Like, you'd load her up on the Magic Find, and then you'd have your swap over, because you would have your OC wand or whatever, and then you have your swap over have even more Magic Find, so at the last minute you could get like a boost. Because you wanted at least like basically 400% Magic Find at any given time.
Yeah.
And then it's like after a while you start getting the same shit. Because I ran one of those bots one time for a minute just trying it out, and I remember like the first night it's like I woke up and it's like I had an entire inventory of string of ears, and it was like she wouldn't be able to pick shit up. It's like if she didn't have room for it, it just wouldn't pick it up, but it would show that it dropped. And you'd be like, oh, damn it, a Storm Shield dropped, and she had like 500 string of ears. It was a waste of damn time. So you'd have to go in there and edit that file to be like, don't pick this fucking up. Don't pick this fucking up. Like unique rings, you would tell it to pick all of them up just in case. Or unique amulets. And it's like, but you'd be like, if you didn't tell it to not pick up string of ears or, some of that really common shit, you would end up like after about 2 hours, you'd have just like maxed out inventory with shitty stuff. So you would have to go in there and slim it down to be like, okay, like I know that, such and such isn't a bad out. Like Viper's Mage, like you don't want to don't be picking up no damn Viper's Mage shit. It's a waste of time.
I could get, people would tell you the times on their Mephisto runs on 1.9. So later on, they greatly made the Durance of Hate 3 much huger, or 2, whatever the fuck it was. And but I could sit there. Some people do it in 40 seconds. Mine was more like a minute and 15 or something like that.
You could do it pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even after they made it big, the trick when making it big was you would go counterclockwise. So you would go straight out and go counterclockwise. You'd usually find it within about like 20 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, just the fucking teleport. Hold down the teleport button for some fast cast speed, and what was that one thing that keeps you from getting hit? I forgot what quick hit recovery, whatever it is.
Yep.
You would just blast through, and it was so fucking broken. Just for movement purposes, just so much more broken than anything else. It's like, oh, I'm sorry you're a necro. I'm sorry you have to actually walk and do things correctly. I'm just gonna blast through the fucking 4,000 walls instantly, go to the boss.
I remember one of those. There was one of those map packs that was fucking broken as shit. It had a teleport button on it, and it did it like through vectors. So basically, like you would like not only would you go to Endurance of Hate 2 waypoint, you could mash one key on the keyboard and it would automatically teleport you to the Endurance of Hate 3 entrance in like one teleport. Like it was so fucking broken. It wouldn't even start doing like, the hops. It was like fucking instant. It was like you were there. And then it was like, and then you could hit it again once you got in 3 and it would put you right there in front of Mephisto, which sometimes that was the only thing that slowed you down on Mephisto runs, is depending on what the layout was. Once you got in there, like if there were council members in certain areas and shit like that, because you didn't give a fuck about them. You just wanted to get the freaking Mephisto and then teleport across the damn moat and just, frozen
drop
orb
with about 4 meteors or whatever it was, and then that's it. And then if he has shit treasure, instantly be out if it's me leave. And then I would do Nightmare as I would level up a character, but it was really hell. Hell's where that shit was going on. Although I never got stuff. There was like a really good ladder battle hammer, and I never got that fucker. I know that he would drop it, and I always wanted to get it, and I didn't get that shit. But some of that shit would just, if you didn't trade for it, you weren't going to see it.
Oh yeah, like Tyrael's might. It's like, I think that was the hardest thing to find in the game. I think it had the worst chances.
Well, was that the arcane or ancient? It was
like sacred armor.
Sacred armor.
It was like one of those. I think it had the lowest. It was like 0.0001% chance of finding it or some shit, and it wasn't even the best. It wasn't even like it was like the end all be all. It was just the hardest. It was the hardest thing to freaking drop.
One of the mod guys talked about the types of players that play Diablo over and over again. And one of them was not. I mean, there was the meta guy who wants to be the best. There's the snowflake guy who wants to, somehow make teeth a fucking valuable thing or some shit like that. He says, I'm a bone armor necro. I'm just going to fucking bone armor my way through the game. And then there would be the other character, which would be the treasure hunter who has to go out and find this fucking shit. And it's they're willing to trade for it, but really the thing is like, I want that shit to drop. And there's like in the back of my mind, I've always wanted a wind force to drop, and it's never fucking dropped for me. I would have to get that shit on the mod or something like that, or trade for it. And
there's only like a handful of guys that would drop. Well, so you could find one.
Pendleskin.
Pendleskin.
I remember doing Pendleskin run.
And then there was one. What was the act one? It was the cave. What was it?
There were several sets of caves, like some of them in Act 5. What you might be talking about might have been something they did past 1.9 and 1.10.
There was one. It might have been 1.10. There was a cave that basically. There was like no limit on what could drop it there, and you could run through it with a strafers on really fast, and it was like Act 1 hell.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where it was at in Act 1, but it was like Act 1 hell, and it was like some cave. I think it might not even have I think there was like a part 2 to the cave maybe, but there was basically like no limit on what could drop in there, and it was like one of the few places you could do that.
I guess before we talk about 1.10, we'll talk about player killing and dueling. Personally, I never really cared much for that shit. I've definitely been ganked. I never actually went and ganked other people. I've defended myself. Fucking, I'll be one of those damn bone snap and vanilla. I would be the bone snap paladin a fucking charge, one shot, you're damn done. Some character goes, I'm gonna go and PK, and I'm sitting there next to the waypoint because I know they're gonna check the waypoints, look to see if there's dead bodies.
That was one of the tips: avoid waypoints.
They'll check the waypoints, Eddie, and so as soon as they pop in the waypoint, it's a second before they can stop moving. They pop in the waypoint, I charge them one hand, they pops dead. And it's like, get your PK ass out of here, bitch. Of course, a lot of them were like, oh, you killed me. And then they bring in their Hell 85 fucking character. I'm like, what are you doing, man? You're going to try to PK me with a fucking level 12, you die, and then you're going to come in with some level 86 shit and you just, think you're the biggest dick. That's like, this is cheap. Of course, you would have to leave or go get your 70,000 damn level character too. And of course, the problem with it is you make a character for monsters or you make a character for dueling, and there's only a couple of builds that will allow you to do both. And I usually didn't like to be those static builds that everyone liked to be. But this, so it sucks that
one of the guys or one of the tips on there was life. Put everything into your life points.
Well, I mean, all you got to do is fucking have a damn belt full of mass rejuvenation potions.
That was another thing. And then there was looking at the gear of somebody. If they look like they're not wearing anything, it looks like they're just generic stuff. It's probably stuff for one-shotting somebody or trying to.
Well, there was a lot of trickery and shit like that. You would try to get scammed. It would be like, hey, I'm a sorceress, but I need to trade with you outside of town.
Oh God, I ran into so many scams. You know what one of the big ones was?
Anybody that wants to get out of town.
The one of the big ones was they would take the freaking Shaco hat, but it wouldn't be a Shaco. It'd be like, what was the skin cap or whatever, and it would have one socket in it, and you throw like I think if it was a chipped emerald, it wasn't a chipped. I think it had to be a flawed. One of them made it look like the same color as the Shaco. So like they would try to do it, and they'd be like, "Here's the Shaco," and it'd be like, "Oh, wait a minute, I goofed up. Give me a second." And they throw it back up there, thinking you wouldn't look at it after you did it.
Yeah, that's some.
And they try to get you in a trade. They were bad about that shit. There was the Wart's leg. Me and Gary did the Wart's leg one time to fuck with people. It was hilarious. You'd have Bug's Wart's leg, and basically, you remember when I imbued Wart's leg that time, and it made it rare just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
You would basically say that, and you'd be like, it lets you teleport, to like or no, you tell me it lets you disappear. That's what it was. It makes you invisible. Wart's leg makes you invisible, and it's bugged because it's rare. So what we would do is like if you were in Act 1, and if you ran by Worf just right, you could click on him and select go to Act 2. But you wouldn't be standing by him. You'd be standing like way off to the side, like over near the stash, because it would like still have the little commands pulled up as you went by him, whatever. So you would just disappear, and you'd be like, "Check it out, I'm invisible now." And then you would be like, and then you just reappear because you travel back to Act 1 from Act 2, and they're like, "Holy shit, you're back!" And you'd be like, "Yeah, man, it's like fucking damn Bug Dwarf's leg makes you invisible." If people would be. And they'd be like offering all kinds of stupid shit for it,
There was so much manipulation, talking people, trying to get them to get stupid crap.
Or like, what was the one that's like? I think it was 1.10 later when they introduced the items that couldn't be traded. So then you had to get creative on like how do you trade with somebody by just dropping shit on the ground. But I think that was all 1.10.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that. So.
Yeah, I've never really played the online stuff, so I avoided most.
That was the only thing I played. Single player had no. I was so into that trade thing that it was like I gave two shits about single player. It's like I wanted. It was all about like building up wealth and just for shits and giggles.
Being rich. You're talking about I'm gonna be rich as soon as the ladder starts. And then, what were you trading? Assassin's Claws? I remember one time you used to sound about Assassin's Claws. That's how you was getting rich. I can't remember.
I don't remember. It was so much. Like it would change because like people.
It was more than just. It was more than just Bartox. It was actually a magic claw. If it had to like +3 to the right.
It was traps. That's what it was. What it was is you could get like it's the same way with the glaives. You would hunt for glaives that had +3 to all war cries, and you could buy them off of vendors. That's how easy they were to find, quote unquote easy to find. But you would put one on each hand on your switch, so that way when you did your war cry, you would switch to your two glaives that both had basically 6 to war cries on it, with them together, and you would switch and then do your war cry and then switch back to your weapons when you would after your war cries. But on claws, you would look for assassin claws that had +3 to all traps, because if they had plus to all skills, it would cap out at 2, or have cap out at 1. But you could find them where they had individual skills and they would cap out at 3. So if you're a trap assassin, that's all you gave a shit about was plus the trap skills.
Yeah.
So you would look for those, and you could buy them off the vendor, or you could find them on the ground, and they would go for like really high trades, because that's what people want. Because basically, it's like if you had one on each hand, that was +6 to trap skills.
And Eddie, do you remember how to reset the vendor?
Yeah, you would just leave town and come back.
It's been a while.
You have to leave town and come back, or with the Act 2 vendor, you could go into the gambling guy. You could go into the little dungeon and come out, and obnoxious. It's fucking obnoxious as shit.
Yeah. It's been a very long time since I've done any of that.
It's one of those things that I'm tired of clicking these clicks, man. Because
it was a nice trade up.
It's been a while since we played Diablo, so I remember doing a good bit of that, trying to get that stupid helmet that would never show up.
See, now what Eddie's talking about, we play mods, but there's a huge difference between BattleNet and playing LAN. It's that BattleNet sucks. BattleNet has terrible ass fucking ping.
Oh, and God, yes.
When you playing LAN, it's so much drastically better. It's like playing offline. It's like, especially when you're in the same room on the same network with somebody, it's just impeccably way much better. No 600 fucking ping. None of this shit running like ass balls. And you wouldn't have to worry about stuff like, of course, everybody would try to scam, or you'd have to have a private game off yourself so you could trade with yourself. He's like, you had people you trusted, and and especially once I found mods, and I dabbled with mods even back in vanilla. That was just the way that I like to play. Before we get to the mods, Eddie, where we're at. We're 1.110. Do you remember why 1.110? What was so big? Because we was waiting like motherfucker for this shit. Do you remember?
The Pandemonium event.
I don't know if that was in 1.10.
I'm not sure. No.
That was 113, or might have been 112. What was big about 110 is they went through and they at the like coding level, they cleaned up all of the code, and it's all done on spreadsheets. And you can actually, if you got a little modding course, you can just pull up the spreadsheets and look at this shit. And so they cleaned all that up, and so now you could have stuff like this assassin doing whirlwind and shit like that through and so that's when they came up with the crazy. I'm pretty sure that's when Enigma showed up. Isn't that right, Chad?
Yes.
Pretty sure.
Enigma.
So Enigma.
Rune words.
They got
all the rune words basically got like
way better.
Yeah, pretty much all rune words previous got
words,
like outdated.
Yeah.
Before a certain patch didn't work, but after they did, there were new ones they added.
And I don't know if they always had problems with sets, especially the mods had problems with sets. I don't know if I think they already had decent sets.
The sets would rarely drop.
I know they just all sucked before. None of them were good. Yeah. I mean, it was like every character had like a high level set, but none of it was any good. Like, I mean, nobody's bar ran the Ike set, because it was like you're better off breaking it up. Same with like Minerva's or Taos. No wizard was running around using full Tau set. Why? It's like it cuts into your magic find. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I think we almost completed the Tal Rasha set. I know we completed Klieglaw set, but in Vanilla Doom or Vanilla D2, I don't think we've actually
it just ended up, I think, just Siggins, because it was regular, cheap, and easy to get. People would use Siggins as their leveling up guys.
Low level, yeah.
Yeah. But they made a whole bunch of uniques, and we had to wait. This is when they fixed the Necro. It's 1.10 because he sucked for the vast majority of the popularity of Diablo 2. He sucked.
They went so far overboard they had to balance him in like 1.11 as well.
Paladin was bad for a specific reason, Eddie. Diablo was about killing everything on the fucking screen instantaneously and then going to the next screen. If you could not do that as a Paladin, you were pretty much useless. If your Paladin could kill really fucking good one monster, he was going to own Diablo, but no one gave a shit because the Sorceress is going to teleport Diablo in 2 seconds while
destroy it. While he's still trying to even get into the Sanctuary. He wouldn't even be up to the front door yet and the game would be over.
it's so they went out and the Druid and the Assassin were underpowered, drastically underpowered. They had some pretty cool skills, like they would have life leech on skills when other characters didn't. So you would think that they would be more, I don't know, balanced or whatever it was, but they were undertuned.
They couldn't take a hit for shit.
Yeah, they sucked, and so 1.10 did so much great for those characters that had been just neglected and forgotten and just jokes. So the Paladin was a joke, Druid, Assassin. So most of the characters were a joke. You had
you only had 3 good characters. It's the Barb, the Wizard, the Sorceress, and the Amazon. It's like that old freaking video file where they're all in cows and like the only people killing cows are those and the other ones are sitting around playing cards with each other and the freaking Pally's trying to borrow money to fix his fucking weapon that broke for the 9 millionth time and he's still trying to kill one cow.
Yeah.
And that's about what it was like.
That's why 1.10 was important. And they had the test patch and all that shit. I played through and I'm like, wow, the Necro finally works. This is so great. You could get your skeletons out and he was fucking amazing. And, they did a lot for to help out the Assassin, who was a gimp sauce, useless fucking character. And I remember we had done a werebear just for the lulz because he had all this.
The werebear was great, man. It's like you put like a freaking 6-shell phase blade in its hand, it was fast as hell. But as soon as you fought something that was fire immune, which is pretty much everything in the Den of Evil of Hell, you were useless.
50% of monsters were fire immune.
I think I had a hybrid werebear wolf Zealadin.
I don't know what the hell you had going on there, Eddie.
I don't even know where that character is now. I don't even know where my smiter is now, but I found my necromancer.
Yep, a lot of people would play as the werewolf, but he sucked until 1.10. And honestly, I never even played much Druid since then. I cast him away as the useless damn high character. But
when you get to a certain level, the werewolf became like the paladin zeal attack.
Yeah,
you just get a multi attack.
Even then, it was just if you couldn't kill the whole fucking screen, and never mind that once if you're a druid and like you're in the form, you couldn't cast magic, and so you were like automatically limiting yourself. And there were several characters like that, like being the Javazon versus the Bozon. You have a switch or whatever, but you can only do one thing at a time. And what you want to do was to do one thing at a time really damn well. And if you had a character that did that, then that's how you played it. And so it's like, oh, well, I'll have a little firebolt, and then I'll have a fireball, and then I'll have, a meteor, and I'll use the right one for the right level. And no, fuck that shit. Just use meteor, and then forget everything else. Don't even put it on your quick key. You're never going to use fireball ever again. It's useless. And that's the way. It's the meta way of playing, which of course leads you down the line of everybody having the same build.
Cookie cutters.
And so if you didn't have your cookie cutter, if you didn't have your and this is really before flavor of the week, because that's really some Diablo 3 shit. That's some shit they started picking up in World of Warcraft, and they just brought it over to Diablo. It's like you would have your character. This is the fucking best character at the end. You could be other people if you wanted to be the snowflake. If you wanted to have a unique build, you could try that shit, but you're going to be you're going to feel useless if you're against the meta shitheads. And it's just another one of the reasons why, you know what, I'm just going to go off and play, just play freaking local. Myself. Just play LAN. And then don't have to worry about that. Never mind that one of the reasons that I went to mods is that you could sit there and play like Eastern Sun or something like that, and all of a sudden the Necro was a usable character. You're like, wow, this is awesome. He has these skeletons there got little scythes and shit, because you would forget how this shit would even work. They would use skills. It's like, what is this shit? Oh, it's that useless crap that we haven't done in 5 years. But after 1.10, I think 1.13 was the last big one, and that's when I think they added all the
Uber Diablo, the Pandemonium event.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think that's when all that shit came in.
Oh, well, it was
10 had Diablo, had the Diablo clone or whatever. But
it did.
It had that. It might have been 11, but it was because I remember me and Russ would play at that. And that's when they started having the items that you couldn't trade. It was the Annihilus gem or whatever, or the torches. And they were like, yep, like, and you could not freaking trade those. You had to drop them on the ground and somebody pick them up. And that's when the trade community got fucking crazy, because like people would still be trading them, but you had to be you either had to trade with somebody you trusted, or you had to figure out a way to limit your chances of being fucked over.
Yeah.
By like, and there was all kinds of tricks where they'd be like, oh, you can go to Act 2 and you drop it on this side of the wall of the tavern, and I'll drop mine, and we'll walk around and pick each other's up. It's kind of like, basically like, hey, of course, there'd always be some paladin in there with vigor. I'll be like, yeah, let's do that. And be like, yeah, that's a stupid ass idea. So you would just avoid it. You would just not even bother. But there are always people trying to do that.
Yeah, if I can ever find my paladin, he's got all the hellfire torches for everybody.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, it also became like, I felt like doing the same thing over and over again, and I still wanted to play, so I would just change the way I played. Even the mods were just so freaking great. I remember there was like a vanilla mod that you could literally be Diablo. It only had 3 characters. You could be Diablo, the little fucking the shaman guy, or I think it was some kind of bull demon or whatever. And it was broken, glitchy as fuck, but you could actually be the monsters and use the monster skills.
I seen that. Somebody was using Diablo to fight Lilith, and they were using the frost attack.
Yep, but there was a lot of different kinds of mods. But the one that really caught my eye, because it was so fun out of the gate, was Zael. And in Zael, you don't even start with any fucking equipment, and you only start with like these little recipe scrolls that tell you how to make items. And so you get like a couple of gems or whatever, and you have to like use that to make some money to get out there. And you can't kill fucking nothing, and until you get some like quill rat off to itself, and you beat on it with some item you found, or you have to sit there and look. You have to sit there and go out to the damn what's the first level?
Bloodmore.
The Bloodmore. You have to go out to Bloodmore 4 or 5 times, turn all the rocks over.
You gotta get at least to like level 15 before you can
touch the right shrines. Touch the ones with the hands on to level your character up some, so you can actually not die.
It's like your characters suck, and there'd be like 10 bazillion monsters. It's like, what is this? This is some bullshit. And
it was a building thing.
You just kept doing it because you've never been challenged by the fucking guys as soon as you stepped outside before, unless you was in hell mode. When you had a kind of a weak character, you went to hell mode the first time, you realized that your character ain't no good. But no, this shit's happened at level 1 before you even fucked up yet. And,
it's like that Den of Evil, man. If you ain't like level 30 going into that Den of Evil, forget it.
Oh man.
And there were so many. Usually, I don't like sitting there having to make a bunch of shit. I just want to play kill monsters. But no, this game made you have to hunt down all the recipes. You had to find all the goodies.
Find posters. That's my thing.
The little posters was great, and there were several more game mods that are like as advanced or even had more shit to them. Median XL was another one, and I never particularly liked that too much. These days, Chad, you play that game, you literally log onto their own custom server. Somehow they freaking emulated the damn BattleNet code, and you log onto their server, and they have ladders and everything the way real Diablo 2 does. But they would change skills around or some shit like that. And I remember just for a second just going in, because I was always curious back then about, how do I go through? And it was pretty easy, actually, to just get you an MPQ editor, and you could go through and just change the numbers on the little spreadsheets. It's like, wow, I made Pharaoh will do 10 million damage. I didn't really fuck with it too much. The mods add so much to Diablo 2, and it's if somebody's only ever played just regular BattleNet or just single player, you're kind of missing out. It's one of those things that's kind of like even though Diablo 2 is a great game, it's kind of like Elder Scrolls, where adding those mods in just help it so much down more. And it's one of those things.
You slowly build your character over time.
Well, they slowly build those mods over time. Some of them mods would get so awesome, but then they would some of them change so drastically. You're like, what? You come back a couple months later and try it again. Like Eastern Sun just fucking would change over and over again. And I don't even remember all of them I played, but I played a bunch. I ended up having just multiple copies of Diablo 2, so some of them I'll hack the fuck out of.
Pluggy. Or we just
Plug was a mod.
Yeah, we'd have cracked out characters, and we'd put it to where we could do the Pandemonium event. It took a long time to do it.
Plugwa allowed you to have the super duper stash that you could character share with other characters, but it also would do stuff because single player and open BattleNet could not have access to what was considered the ladder items, and that was for a long damn time. That's probably still the same way.
Was Wind Force a ladder item?
I don't think Wind Force was, but there were a lot of it might have been. But there were a lot of items that were ladder only super tier items.
I think Azurath was one too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but you could find the other one for it.
The lightsaber?
Not the opposite of Azurath, whatever it was, the demon sword, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You can find it, but you couldn't find Azurath. But Plugwa let you.
Yeah, Plugwa unlocked all that shit.
Plugwa let you fight Uber Diablo at a certain time. There'd be a counter there, and it's like Diablo walks the earth.
Did they redo Zyrune's damn rarity, Chad?
On Zaya? Or you mean
like... No, just the vanilla game.
Yeah, because those are Zod runes.
Zod runes. Okay, yeah.
I think they did later on. They started like redoing some of this. I mean, because it got to the point where it was like, virtually impossible. And I remember they adjusted some of that stuff. I by that point it started getting out of it, but I think they did increase some of the odds. Of course, the thing is like we'll make it 2 times more likely, but when it's 0.4% chance of dropping, that's still like not shit,
Yeah, 0.4, and it'd have to be probably like an high level super duper monster, like 85 or whatever the fuck it was. Which of course would put you in the Pendleskin damn area again.
Yep. I mean, it was like so freaking, that was the thing is like they had those data sheets where it'd be like, on those certain websites where it'd tell you it's like this monster has the highest chance of dropping such item. And it would literally be like 0.04. And you'd just be like, well, fuck. I mean, it's like that's, I mean, you would literally like, you could do 100 runs and not see shit,
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. I mean, that was the thing. It's like, I remember like Mephisto, you could run that dude for like an hour straight, and if you got one decent item, at least you felt like you accomplished something. And that one decent item would still be shit. It would just be decent. You'd be like, oh man, I got like a freaking Tao's armor or something after doing it, for 45, 50 minutes straight. It wouldn't even be that good. But basically that meant at that point, you're basically doing like 50, 60 runs because you could nail them out in less than a minute if you got real good, lucky.
Yeah. I guess the last thing, because we're starting to get long here, we'll talk about Diablo Resurrected real quick. There's no LAN play, and so there's probably going to be no mods for it. That's what I was actually hoping to get. I figured this would be, just new mods would just come out for this thing. Maybe they would even use the 3D characters or stuff. You'd have new 3D monsters, but there's that was a big turnoff. There were some other damn things. When it comes out, it's not even going to have
few people, plenty of people really.
Yeah, but except old people who have played the original damn game a good bit. It pisses them off. On the console, there's going to be no lobbies, so it's going to be impossible to do any kind of trading bullshit. Let's see what else is they fucked up. The faces are fucked up for the characters. I think a lot of that's just I don't know. Sometimes the closer you get to looking real, the more ugly it looks. I don't.
Sometimes cartoony's better, you know.
Yeah. There were several things that really turned me off and pissed me off. Of course, Blizzard being dumb fucks just all the way around these days. As you're saying, the grab ass. I thought the damn Bill Cosby shit. I thought that was like some damn Photoshop shit. No. They're all there wearing their fucking sweaters, holding up a damn shrine poster of Bill Cosby.
He's their hero, man.
Are you serious?
Yes, yep. That's a real thing. And so they're going to get sued into oblivion. And I think it's about some state-sponsored thing from California, and they've done.
Yeah, it's like state charges are being brought, yeah. So it's like this ain't no civil shit. This is like straight up like big deal.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can get anybody on criminal charges because your statute of limitations are probably up on that stuff. But there's at least one accusation that a girl killed herself. Committed suicide from the freaking they were passing around a picture of her hoo-ha that they had took on or something like that, and then they were talking about laughing at it at a Christmas party or some stupid crap like that. But that Blizzard is not the Blizzard that made Diablo 2 or World of Warcraft or any of that.
Hell, probably wasn't even Blizzard made Warcraft 3 Diablo 3 at this point.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. Diablo 3, we'll talk about that on our next podcast or whenever we get a chance to get Eddie back down. But Diablo 3 was a fuck mare. And so you start looking. I think it really started. It probably started in some World of Warcraft damn expansion that I didn't even play, but I think that they really got greedy for StarCraft 2 when they're like, we're going to charge you 3 times for the same fucking game, pretty much. I played through. Hell, I was so pissed off I didn't even pay it. I played through the burnt copy. I eventually bought it like cheap later on. StarCraft 2 was still great, but. I was thinking, I was hyped for Diablo 2 Resurrection. I was like, oh, that'll be good for at least one vanilla run, and then wait for the mods. It's like I'm not interested.
Nope. No land means no mods.
It also means there's no open BattleNet either, Eddie. Which means you could take your single player and just play it online. So there's no way to get your single player to play online. Which this means, let me just go back and start some Diablo 3, some Era 37 shit. Everyone, even if they play by themselves, is going to make a multiplayer character just so that they can, if they ever want to take their single player online, they would be able to do so. So every motherfucker is going to make their own fucking game, and it's going to crash the goddamn servers, just the way Diablo 3 did. When you had to fucking play, everybody had to play Diablo 3 online. It wasn't like, oh, well, there's going to be like freaking 25% or like super tryhards. They have to get their shit immediately, and then
everybody.
Yeah, and the other would play it offline, and then like after they played it offline, they would go online. After they were comfortable. No, everybody is going to have to play online. Game's going to fucking crash when it comes out. On top of that,
that's what happened.
On top of that, you're going to look at I don't know if knowing them and knowing Activision, they're probably going to try to make the console people log on to the BattleNet servers too, because it's about what they call their MUA, their monthly active user. That is their key performance indicator. This is what Bobby Kotick, Activision King and CEO, wants. They want people to log on. They want people to log on all the time, even if they're going to play the game single player. They want that shit logged on for their KPI, because Blizzard's KPI is shit compared to Activision, because on Activision you have Warzone and you have Call of Duty Mobile, and so all of this shit like Diablo Mobile and all that other crap, there's probably going to be some kind of World of Warcraft Mobile. They've been talking about it, and hell, I wouldn't surprise me if they try to do a damn StarCraft RTS Mobile. Stupid shit. Stupid shit. They'll make all of their games mobile. That will be actually their emphasis, because they'll have their monthly active users up. And you know what happens when you're always online? You're more likely to buy the microtransaction. That's the whole fucking point of all of this.
Microtransactions. So
you tired of doing magic find runs for this shit? Here, man. What if you just automatically had it?
Yeah, that would be some Ubisoft shit. We're gonna give you a time saver, Eddie. We're gonna give you a plus 100 magic fine if you buy our Goobly Glops at $25 for 2 hours.
You gonna have like 1,000 magic fines.
Which is exactly what Marvel Heroes did back in the day, by the way.
What's the fun in finding?
I don't know if Path of Exile. It's not about fun. It's about selling. It's about this. If it was about fun, they wouldn't have fucking took LAN out. This is about this right here.
And they know that the people that are going to play it are about our age, and I ain't got time to sit. That's like I said before. I can't go back to that economy. I ain't going back to that freaking. I got to sit in a damn chat log for like 45 minutes trying to find somebody that has such and such to trade with such as. Like, you ain't got time for that shit no more. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's going to bother. So it's like they're just going to play.
Yeah, and no ladder mode day one. Hopefully, and I believe I've already heard them say this, that they've enabled like ladder runes for single player. So you would think that when everybody starts playing, on the 23rd of September, that they're going to at least, even if they can't play on ladder, that they'll at least be able to get all of the items. Maybe fucking not. This is dumbass Blizzard we're talking about. They're fuck ups. They've done nothing major besides fuck up. Freaking Warcraft 3 Reforged is the worst fucking remaster possible, because you could usually if something like say Resident Evil 3 comes out and the remake sucks, at least you can play the old Resident Evil 3. With Warcraft Reforged, they went through and patched out the original one, Eddie. They just made fucking Resident Evil 3 disappear. It's impossible to play it unless you're completely offline, completely down, freaking take the Ethernet cord out of damn, rip that shit out.
I have the actual.
But they've done nothing but basically fuck up, and so they are desperate for this game to succeed. And what if it's a disaster? What if it's a giant Error 37 shitfest? It could very well be, man. It could be shit.
I'm gonna end up getting it just because I want to. But it's one of those I don't expect much for. It's like it's one of those I want to get it. I'll play it, and if I get like even close to a few weeks to a month out of it, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm at that point in my life. In fact, I think I'm gonna try to get my daughter to play it because she likes to play stuff like that. But it's one of those like it's not gonna be a long term thing. It's like if I can get about a month's worth of just shits and giggles out of it, I'm fine.
I'm wondering how bad the ping will be.
Probably terrible.
Yeah, because on Diablo 3, they're pretty good about faking that shit.
Yep.
But that which means they know that the ping would still be bad even for Diablo 3. But this is still Diablo 2 underneath the hood. You just put a shiny coat of damn 3D shit on top of it, or at least they've rebuilt it and then made it seem like that is. Honestly, the latter sounds better because then maybe they have fixed the netcode. But the netcode has always been pretty bad for this shit. So it's like
it was never great. Speaking of netcode and off subject, he's like, did you see the Nickelodeon Smash Brothers game's going to have it's got rollback code in it, and people are like, this could be like really interesting if it has that. So
well, I know that there's indie Smash types out there that also have rollback, and no one cares about them. And so maybe the characters can help sell it. I mean, with Nickelodeon, I'd rather have honestly freaking Hanna-Barbera, because then you could have like Fred Flintstone and then Dexter. That seems more badass to me, honestly. King of Fighters 15 is going to have rollback on it, but Virtua Fighter doesn't, because why? Virtua Fighter's fucking incompetent.
Yep.
I think they've kind of did some halfway on Tekken, and they'll say shit like, they'll say, "Oh, well, 3D games can't do rollback." Oh, bullshit. It's just you're fucking suck. Now the rollback can still suck the way Street Fighter 5 sucks. But some guy actually fixed their rollback, and they went back and patched it out. We're not gonna let a user embarrass us. Who do you think we are, Dark Souls? We're not gonna let that shit happen.
What exactly is rollback?
Rollback is a predictive netcode. So the game's running basically like a simulation of what several things can happen, and as soon as it realizes that this is the thing that's going to happen, it pops it in, and so it seems way faster. It seems like it's just full time. And honestly, most of it's done by the other netcode, which is the regular netcode. I can't even remember what they call that, but rollback is what you want to play for fighting games, where you're literally, it's important to respond immediately to what the other person is doing to you, and it has to be super quick. Something like, say, like Quake or even like Call of Duty, they can have the actual server run at a lower ping than your game is. But you're on your game, you've beamed the character up, you sighted him, you shot him. The game they know that, and they'll make that reflect in the server. It's not perfect, but what they allow you to do is it seems like it's a whole lot faster than it is. But when you're playing something like StarCraft or a competitive fighting game, it really doesn't work like that, and so this way you need things like rollback or just play on land. And another thing that you knew that Blizzard was a bunch of fuck ups is that when they made StarCraft 2, they did the same thing. They got rid of land, and so even the fancy Korean people, when they're esports and shit, were having to play, and then BattleNet would just crash on them. That's like fucking just incompetence. This is where they didn't understand what was best for their game or market. They want you to log online so they can sell you fucking microtransactions. Yeah. That's
you
what
don't need microtransactions if you're playing single player. No point.
Yeah.
That with D3.
They bought it. You got the Necro, didn't you? Did you get the Necro on D3?
I did.
No.
Yeah. I think you and Jason did. I don't. Maybe Drew did.
I forget how much it was, like $10.
$20. It was expensive.
Was it that much?
Yeah.
Maybe I got it when it was on sale.
You might have grabbed it you might have not got it immediately, but it came with like 2 stash slots, which I was thinking for that.
Yeah.
And then the Necro.
I don't remember. I might have paid $20 for it. I don't remember. It was fun. I mean, and I didn't mind that. I mean, because that was like almost like a cheap half-ass expansion, just throwing that in there.
It would not surprise me a damn bit if 6 months to a year down the line, especially if Resurrected does good numbers, that all of a sudden, you can now be the Demon Hunter in Diablo 2, and then $20, please. It would not. I would be surprised if it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna let you buy some extra stash space. Or something like that. But our servers are tight. Even though we're going to make every motherfucker log online, our servers are tight, and we don't have enough space to let people have high stashes. But if you give us $20, it'll help offset the cost. Yeah,
we'll make room for you. Yeah, that's what it'll come down to.
Or transmogs. Sell people transmogs.
Yep. Transmogrification.
We can make your demon.
Why are we allowing people to have custom control over their character? They need to fucking pay for the colors.
Well, it come down to like, do you want a female barbarian? It's like, here's your transmog. It's like $10, please.
Yeah.
Or male Amazon.
A fucking female druid. She's high, smoking a damn pipe all the time.
Yep.
A bro was on, man.
It'll happen. I mean, just wait and see.
Microtransactions. That's the
fucking point. That's the point of why they need you online all the time. And then
what explains the auction house?
The auction house is for another podcast, sir. We got a lot of shit to say about that.
Yeah.
But we're sitting at about an hour and 40 minutes. So this has been pretty good. I'm going to stop it right here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Now I get to save it.